Ultimate live stream. My name is Charles, and this is Infallible Code. I'm joined today by Ciro Continisio. Ciro, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. This is going to be great. I'm really excited for this one. You and I have been talking about this for a couple weeks now, about this exciting announcement. But we'll definitely get into that very shortly. Among other things, we're going to be discussing game development, Unity, and Ciro's role at Unity. And like we just kind of alluded to, there will be a special announcement towards the end of the stream. But before we get into all that, you know I have to go through this YouTube spiel. Make sure you smash that like button if you're enjoying this content. Lets the algorithm know that you like it. Lets me know that you're enjoying it as well. Also, oh no, we've got an echo I see. Oh no, bad echo. I wonder what that's coming from. Shoot. All right, how can I adjust this on the fly? I have an idea. Let me know if that echo goes away. I see exactly what it is. Yeah, it's a bad echo. I can fix it. 1 second. As I fix this, so let's see if I can do some multitasking. Yeah, look at that, bad echo. Well, at least it's happening at the start of the stream. Let me open up my my fancy software, my Go XLR. Give me a second. Sorry, guys. Wouldn't be a live stream if something didn't, some technical issue didn't pop up. Oh, let me unmute you there. So Ciro just asked a question. I muted him real quickly because I think that's where the echo is coming from. Where are you guys watching from? All right, let me see here. Test. Can you hear me now? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. We'll get this fixed out. Give me a sec. Yeah, no sound. I think the issue is, hold on. For some reason, I keep coming in on my... Oh, I understand what's happening. Can you say something real quick, Ciro? Okay, I know what happened. All right, well, I'll be sure to cut this part out of the stream. Give me a second. I know exactly what happened. Chat mic. Yeah, I got the wrong mic set up here. So Ciro's supposed to be coming in on the chat mic. So let me figure that. Oh, I'm so sorry about this, guys. I got an idea to fix this. So I'm gonna change this real quick to the broadcast, and then we'll be up and running. I'm sorry, guys. All right. This is always fun. All right, mic, broadcast, stream. I think this is going to fix it. So, guys, pro tip with streaming, even if you test it ahead of time, something will still always go wrong. So you're going to get real good at working on your test. Can you say something, Ciro?
Yeah, of course. I'm chatting with the people in the chat in the meantime.
Very good. Cool. No problem. Seems like a normal programming day. Absolutely.
Yeah.
At least this didn't break during the big announcement. I think I moved all my stuff around too in the thing. All right, let me set this up. All right. So we'll give it a second and see if people can hear us now. I think they should be able to.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear us at this point?
Jason says Murphy's
Seems
Law.
okay now, says Alan.
Hey, yes, we did it. All right, I'll be sure to cut that out of the VOD. Barrels, get Charles on stream. That's hilarious. Yeah, this stream was set up by Barrels. You gotta understand. He's a little bit of a newbie. We're working with him, and we'll get it set up. All right, so let me start over. Let's let this be the beginning of the stream. So Ciro, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, no worries.
So
It's a pleasure. Actually, thank you for inviting me. It's a really good opportunity. As you said, we have some announcement to make, so it was very, very good timing.
yeah, actually, really great timing, and we'll find out why a little bit later. But before we get into that, just gonna repeat my little spiel here. If you could smash that like button, don't hit the dislike button because we had some audio issues. Hit the like button because we fixed them, and that's on being a game developer. You got to fix a lot of issues. So hit that like button if you're enjoying the video. Please subscribe if you enjoy this content, and also share as well. Also, want to just remind everyone that there's 4 days left to use my promo code on the Unity Asset Store. So it's Infallible 15. I'll drop that in the chat at some point. You might actually see it roll through the chat. Infallible 15. You can use that on the Unity Asset Store, and that'll get you 15% off up until the end of September. So in October that will expire. So just keep an eye out for that. If you're buying any assets, I recommend. It's a great asset. There's a couple of great assets out there. They're in the description of my videos. You can find those there. And one more thing I'd like to bring up is my Patreons. So you guys support me on Patreon. I really appreciate it. And my tier 3 Patreons, I really want to extend a special shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. And that's going to be Glasswell Entertainment, Thomas, Dark Rush Photography, Trond, R-Star, Iron Alex, Yusuf Ali Castle, Nav from Academy of Games, Mighty Possum, Dustin, Amar Juranovic, Anton, Umut Sarin, Urizor, Jennifer Irwin, Alwyn Kuravilla, Christian, DJ Weaver, Surav Chatterjee, and Pirter Bungo. If I botched any of those, please send me a DM. I will change the way I say your name. But wow, I really appreciate all that support.
That's a classic, right? Like you get all these like worldwide names, and you're like, how do I pronounce this?
Oh yeah, I've actually had to DM a couple of these folks and just say, listen, I don't know how to say this. What would you like? Like Iron Alex.
You know who did a cool thing? LinkedIn has a little feature where you can record your own name, and then there's like a little speaker next to your name, and then people can click it to hear how you pronounce it.
I've seen that.
I think it's super cool.
It's really smart because I mean, especially in these days where people are now working remotely more than ever, you're definitely going to be crossing the pond. So definitely cool. All right.
I see a lot of known names in the chat.
Yeah.
Nice.
I saw a couple folks in the beginning before all the technical issues happened, and I was like trying to scramble. I saw Dapper Dino was here. I think I saw Alan Zucconi was here.
There's Oren from Tel Aviv.
Nice.
It's a very, very, very active Unity meetup.
Oh, very cool.
Miley from Unity itself. Yeah, cool.
Very cool.
So, Charles, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I'm curious to know a little bit about you, Ciro. Can you just let us know what you do at Unity and just some past projects you work on? I'm really curious to know about your history.
Sure, of course. So what do I do at Unity? The first thing I would say is my title, although that doesn't say much. I'm a head of creator advocacy for games for the EMEA region. So I basically lead the team. It's quite a small team. Of creator advocates. Creator advocates is really just another name for like evangelist, but we introduced this new name, and we chose the word creator because of the variety of roles that we have, of people using Unity. So we thought that creator was an encompassing word. And so what do? I would say, sadly, what did I used to do in 2019, right? And then what do I do now? So before the pandemic, my main role, as well as my team's role, was to travel and go to game conferences, go to game jams, hackathons, basically every live event, and present Unity, present new features, and sometimes, teach new stuff. So we used to do workshops, we used to run like little lectures, and obviously talks on stage. And again, that was 2019, unfortunately.
Sounds like a dream job.
It's a fun job. It's a fun job. And actually, I'm wearing the shirt that I have in the preview of your
nice.
of your thing, which I got at Unite Tokyo. It's
Very
one
cool.
of my most treasured possessions, Unity possessions. So yeah, we got to see like many places. As I said, I'm part of the EMEA team, so Europe, Middle East, and Africa. But sometimes we're called to help with unites in Asia, or for GDC, for instance. I came to the US basically almost every year to San Francisco, and that's fun. It's tiring but fun.
Yeah.
And now now we do everything online.
It's been quite a shift.
Which is okay.
How's that been for you?
It's I have to be honest, it's tough. And it's not just for me, right? Like this is a thing that's bouncing around. The fact that like the awareness that doing these things online is not the same.
Yeah.
I mean, you work online, you know this, so you probably have a million strategies to engage the audience, to keep them watching the stream and stuff like that. For us, it was a bit of a shock, if I would say.
Yeah.
The format that we used to bring to conferences, these long formats, pre-recorded talks, of 1 hour, they don't work online. They don't work on YouTube.
Right.
So we're coming up with all the possible strategies and ideas to make that process a little bit better. And,
yeah, absolutely.
The things we came up with is just like, being live rather than pre-recorded. That's one thing. Being on camera, being connected with people. I mean, as I was saying, some people here in the stream are from our Unity meetups, and that's what we try to do. We try to make it very interactive when we do those meetups.
Yeah.
It's a learning process, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And sort of bring it back to game development. Engagement is really big. And so going live, you get the opportunity to engage with people who are in the chat and things like that. And I think that it kind of applies to game development. I saw a question come up here. I think Adkinc85 asks, is buying a domain for every single Unity indie game necessary or not? And it's one of those things where, well, a big part of game development or any sort of content creation that where you're putting out your content and you want people to see it, you need to market it. And part of that marketing effort is building a community and getting engagement and building a community around what you're doing. And so to answer his question, well, if you want to build a community around your game and you want to have people buy it and do marketing, I think 100% you should definitely buy a domain for every single indie game.
And domains are really cheap, to be honest, right? They're not going to be the expense that really tanks your your production. So you should buy one for sure.
Yeah, then you have sites like, I'm not sponsored, but like sites like Squarespace where you have like Squarespace where you have a WYSIWYG to create your website. It's easy, but yeah, engagement is really important, especially in this day and age. And what I find interesting too is like even if it's not this where I have an audience and I'm speaking to folks and I want people to watch, even at work where I manage a team of developers, I find that working on ways to get them to engage with each other and myself is really important because it becomes very easy for people to get siloed and to be like at their home in their desk, especially programmers who really enjoy being in solitude and would love to just be in a cave, with internet access.
Totally.
Just finding ways to engage is really important, which is why I think those, even virtual meetups are great. Just this Friday, I hosted a happy hour with my entire team. And, we sent them bottles of whatever they wanted and got on. We played some Jackbox games and things like that. So, engagement is super important in this space.
We're very lucky here in Copenhagen, actually. My team is all here. And then we have another 3 people from other parts of the team, like kind of like the broader team. So obviously most of them, like Andre from Mix and Jam, Andy Touch, they're all here. So we're very lucky and we can basically see each other pretty often. Christine Stock as well. She's been hired by Unity recently.
Very cool.
And
congrats to her.
The situation here, with the coronavirus is not super bad, although it's getting a bit worse these days. So we can see each other. And actually we can go to the office, which is a luxury these days.
Yeah, that's definitely a luxury.
So we're very, very lucky in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. My team, we're fully remote now. What's interesting is that I had about maybe 5 or 6 months before the pandemic, maybe a little bit more than that, I transitioned to fully remote work for the first time, and I was loving it. I was like, oh, this is great, you know. And I kind of was like leaning into the what I had mentioned, like I can be siloed, I can just get to work and not be bothered or whatever. But when the pandemic started and everyone is now working from home, now I feel like my chat is constantly blowing up. I'm constantly getting pulled into Zoom meetings. So it's interesting. There's definitely a give and a take.
Yeah, it's a different way of working.
Yeah.
Sebastian in the chat, he's saying that he loves the virtual meetups. And actually, Sebastian Frey, he's one of the people that I met through these kind of like Hangouts.
Oh, very
so
cool.
we were doing DevCon. Do you know DevCon?
I don't.
Maybe not. You're from the US. But you know Gamescom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they basically spun up like a new conference. And I'm saying you don't because it's not very famous, actually. It's been, I think, a couple of years. And obviously this year they did it online. And so, you know, we had to do some talks. And so we chose to employ this kind of like more interactive formula. So instead of having, for example, me talk for, 40 minutes, we showed up like the three of us, me, Shem and Amel, like the two girls in my team. And we basically, cameras on, and we turned it into a chat. And for example, Sebastian, who's in the chat right now, he joined us once, and he turned on his camera and he shared the screen and he showed us a project that he was working on. And I think I'm really, really convinced that this is the way to go for events. It's to, connect this way rather than making like a frontal, how can I say, talk.
Yeah, like you're one-sided. It's like opening that door for two-way interaction, which it's something that I've actually been wanting to do as well. We kind of do it here, like, reading through the chat. That's kind of like, in some way we're sort of gatekeeping what we talk about and who gets to interact. But I like to kind of do more things like that, meetups where, someone could just say, hey, I've been working on a project. Can I share it? It's like, yeah, share your screen. Let's see what you've been working on.
Yeah, definitely.
Jason, sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
Oh, I was just saying that Jason Weinman, people might know him as Unity 3D College. He does a similar sort of thing on Wednesdays where people just join in a Zoom call. He has a standing Zoom call. And then a lot of times they'll share what they're working on and get help back and forth. So I think that those sort of things are really important for the community.
Yeah, definitely. What was I thinking? It's challenging because obviously it limits like the range, right? Like, I mean, you can only have so many people sharing at the same time, so you can't do this thing with 100 people and expect them all to share. Yeah. But I think actually, even if the majority of people are not sharing or not turning on the microphone, it's much more interesting to hear me talking with one of them than hearing me talking to myself, or to another Unity person. So I'm
triggered.
It actually does work, even if you can't cover them all, it does work. It creates more engagement versus like somebody who doing like a one-sided talk.
Definitely, yeah.
Somebody says, I miss Unite. Yeah, I miss Unite too.
I miss Unite too. I only went to the one in 2018 in LA, and I was like so pumped. I was like, I can't wait for next year. And then, for whatever reason, just didn't work out, and now this is happening. So
yeah,
I really miss it.
Actually, Unite was the event. I moved here in Copenhagen just before Unite. So I moved into an hotel, did Unite Copenhagen 2019, and then I moved into a real house. It was fun. It was very stressful, actually. But last year's Unite here in Copenhagen was fantastic. It was really fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to do these things again.
I definitely miss those. It's interesting. It kind of makes me think of something that we've been talking about a lot on the channel from the perspective of game developers or maybe people who use Unity or just software developers who want to do freelancing work or maybe want to just get their game out there. And there's always this question of, well, how do I do that? How do I get my name out there? And one of the things that, me and Jason always say is you really need to engage with the community. It's important and meaningfully, not just like, hey, I'm gonna join this community so I can start shilling my product or my game. It's really important to find a group of like-minded individuals, game developers, and have a very reciprocal relationship, because not only is that going to position you better to share your work and get your name out there and maybe get work for yourself if you want to be a freelancer or whatever. But it's good because, you bounce ideas off of folks, you help other people. And that's really important. So I think that interestingly enough, this pandemic has has caused the growth of a lot of communities, a lot of like maybe smaller communities that people wouldn't have heard about or maybe would have never even existed. I think more and more of these communities are springing up. I think it's great.
Could be, yeah.
That's what I see anyway. It's my opinion, not based on any empirical evidence, of course.
I'm reading a bit of the comments. Luckily, Charles has bars to talk
That's
to.
right. That's why I said I was triggered earlier, because you're like, oh, you're just talking to yourself. I make a living talking to myself. Everyone always asks where Barles is at. Right now, I think he's helping in the other room, so maybe we can get him in here later. I'm waiting for the day that I come on stream and it's like, hey, I'm Barles. Charles couldn't be here. Real meta conversation there. Do we really must contact publishers to release our games? Not necessarily. Publishers.
Tough question.
Publishers can help, but certainly people have been successful releasing their games completely independently. But it just depends on your game and your resources. How to be part of a Unity community? Come with a country that had little contact with the company. The internet, the majesty of the internet. Yeah. What would you think, Ciro? How does one become a part of a Unity community?
I mean, what do we mean by Unity community? Ivo Capello, before you mentioned Portugal, I think. So, I mean, one thing would be to have a meetup there, organized by somebody, right? So either you or somebody else. And obviously right now it will have to be online, which is easier, right? You don't need to find like a venue at least. So that would be the first thing to do, I think. To get in contact with the company, with us, then I think one thing you could do is to write to us and maybe we can organize. We have a person actually, Charles, you know her very well, Elena. Mm-hmm. She takes care of co-organizing meetups, right?
Yeah, she's great.
So we have meetups all over the world, and then Elena makes sure she kind of like she's the contact to provide maybe a Unity speaker, for example, or sometimes there's like some special setups for some meetups. But the first step is to organize these meetups, I think, and they don't even need to be Unity related. Just make them, technology agnostic and and gather as many people as possible, because I mean the Unity community is always very big, to be fair. You're not going to have a hard time finding people wanting to get together and chat and network, I think. Yeah. Wherever you are, Ivo, since you're asking.
Yeah, local meetups are great. Oren just said in the chat, and I agree with that. And if you can't find a local meetup, you could definitely spearhead your own. And there are plenty of ways to get your name out there and get your meetup out there. I know a lot of people don't like social media, but Facebook is a great way to find groups in your area. For instance, I was living in Atlanta, which is a big city, and of course there are plenty of user groups there. But recently I just moved to a city just west of Atlanta, and it's smaller. Now, I could go and do meetups in Atlanta still, but if I really wanted to, if I wanted to find people from my area, I could go onto Facebook, look for groups of individuals in my area. In fact, my neighborhood has its own group. And I could say, hey, listen, everyone, I'm just gauging interest. I'd like to see if there's anyone who would like to meet up one day and maybe do a Zoom call and talk about, game development and Unity. And you'd be surprised at how many will respond. And if you're the de facto leader of that community in your area, I mean, it's a pretty cool position to be with if that's what you want, Yeah. It really gives you the opportunity to now reach out to Unity, someone like Elena, and say, listen, I have a user group here where I live, and just wondering how we could engage and do things like that. And really the ultimate goal of something like that is you're trying to grow, you're trying to be better as a game developer. You're trying to, maybe you have a dream project out there, or maybe you're just someone who loves working in Unity and wants to just get some work. These are the ways that you do that. You talk to other people, so that would be my recommendation there. Ciro the hero. I love that.
I'm writing something.
Hey guys, I love it. See lots of familiar faces coming in.
Today is actually Christine's birthday. She just came in the chat.
So. Happy birthday, Kristen.
Happy birthday. I think it's today.
Well, if it's not, happy belated, and if it's early, happy early.
She will be able to confirm or not. Trond from Norway, right?
Tron's great. VR with Andrew, Roman, I see you guys here. By the way, Kristen, are you a fellow Virgos? So I'm a September baby as well. So.
What did you say?
Virgo, like the is a horoscope, or I forget. I don't really follow it, but my wife always says I'm a Virgo. Awesome.
What football club do I support? I don't follow football that much. If I had to support one, I guess Napoli, which is my hometown, but yeah, not super fan. Not.
I don't follow it either. All right. Well, we're about 30 minutes into this. We see we've got a lot of folks in the chat. So friendly reminder, smash that like button if you're liking this content. Also hit that like button if you're really excited to hear about this announcement that Ciro's about to dive into. Are you ready to do that, to dive into it?
Sure. Just I need to find the words. I'm so it's actually a pretty big step. So let me introduce why, right? We actually touched the subject, and some people made some very, very close comments to what I'm going to announce. In that sense, we were talking about events, lack of events, not being able to meet face to face, and somebody commented on the ability to engage with us, and I don't remember the comment exactly, but it was something about kind of learning also on a more ongoing basis and on a longer term, right? They were talking about some tutorials. So all of these things, when they come together, they more or less make what I'm going to announce in a second. Actually, this thing, fun fact, this initiative, we conceived it last year, and then we started pitching it at Unity in March. And just now it's kind of launching. So you can imagine how long it took us to set it up. Yeah. Do you want to share the screen, Charles?
A drum roll. Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Boom. There you go. Floor is yours.
Yeah. Am I live?
You're live. Do it live.
Cool. Okay. So thanks, Charles, for this opportunity to basically use this platform to announce this thing. And this is kind of like a soft launch, right? Then we're going to make a more official announcement. But the initiative is called Unity Open Projects. And I don't know if the name suggests something. The idea is basically that we're going to develop some projects, starting with one, of course. And when I say project, I mean games, small games. And we're going to do that. That's the peculiar part in the open, with the community. And the word open means open source. So the idea is, yes, exactly, Luis is just commenting on that, is that rather than having a kind of a tutorial or a demo or a sample, right, that we make for a number of months and then we release as it's finished, which is what we've been doing, until now, and we will keep doing, don't get me wrong, we still have tutorials coming out, sample games. This is kind of a parallel initiative. So instead of doing that, in this case, we will basically open up the repository straight away, and you will see it in a second. I'll show it to you. And then you will be able to dig into the code, into the assets, and also contribute to it, which is, I think, one of the most exciting parts. Because, I firmly believe that once you've done all the tutorials, and there's so many people here, I recognize some names from our Create with Code series. We have so much content, learning material, sometimes even interactive, but it kind of strikes the very beginning of the path, right? I know, Charles, you create comment for programmers, right?
Yeah.
But I'm talking about many tutorials we have. They serve very, very well the first steps into Unity.
Right.
And then as you go higher, as you go more advanced, you're kind of left on your own. What is the challenge there? And this is my opinion. Tell me if you agree. I think the challenge is that there's no real concept of something advanced that is also generic for any project.
Right.
right? You can have like a programming pattern,
yeah.
but to see it in context, you need to apply it on an actual project, right?
That's the key word, is context. And that's something that I struggle with too as a tutorial creator, that a lot of the times I'm creating a tutorial and an example project, but because I want to show something very specific, that code and that project lives in a vacuum that is like perfectly set up to solve that problem. So it's very hard to see, well, what happens if I got
that
problem?
part, of course, the vacuum, right? Like the idea that and that's actually a balance. Like you need to make things simple to make them understandable, right? But if you make them too simple, then obviously people's answer is going to be, oh, but I wouldn't do this in a real project, right? So it's an act of balance there. And so with this initiative, we want to address also that part. And the way we're going to do it is, there's no other way than to actually start with one project. So we can't do it for every project. We start with one, and we see a few things that are a bit more advanced, not super advanced, because, it's still an educational initiative, and we have things that are way more advanced served by other demos. For example, FPS Sample, Mega City, they are very complex demos, and they hit like the higher, kind of like the higher tier of education, where you're like a very advanced user and you can understand them. With this one, we wanna stay in the middle. That's the idea.
Yeah. Which is definitely going to be a challenge, because that middle part, I think, is the one thing that is missing. What the context, like you said, context is so important. And the thing is, when you're making a game and you're just in software development in general, sometimes the context could be really hard to unpack without spending the time to really understand like what went behind, what got us to this point in the project. And oftentimes what gets you to that point in the project are the decisions that you have to make along the way. And I think that's something that a lot of...
You touched a very, very important point.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
No, it's really important. So you said something key, the decisions you have to make along the way, right? Like by seeing a project that is already finished and packed up, which we do, and everybody does it this way. It sounds like I'm criticizing every other tutorial. I'm not. It's just like they serve something else, right? But what I'm saying is that you're missing the journey, right? Yeah. There's a journey that took you there. And I saw it many times internally. Like we have a demo team in Brighton, and I saw them working through tutorial content, and the tutorial changes in time. Like they start with an idea, then they hit like, some technical issue, they hit some timing issue, resource issues, and then the project like changes and mutates before it comes out. So people normally just see the end result, and that's the same for any game that you play, right? You only see the ending, the end product. But with this initiative, I think one of the coolest aspects of it is the ability to see it as it happens and make your contribution to it. Yeah. So we might, for instance, to give you an example, we might hit some technical difficulty, and say like, you know what, we're going to cut this part and we're going to go another route because that's the best thing to do in this context. We might add something. If somebody comes up with a super cool addition to the game, a new character or a new system, why not? And then the project will shift in that direction, within reason, of course. Right. We also want to get to the finish line. But that's the idea. Yeah, and I think seeing these changes happen in real time throughout the months, because this thing is going to last like at least 6 months. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be very valuable.
Yeah, what's also really valuable is you will be able to document those decisions and actually go back, because it's all going to be in a repo. You could go back to any particular commit and say, look, this, what we faced, the dilemma we faced 10 commits later, where we had to make this decision point, this was caused by this other decision point that happened 10 commits previously, and we can see exactly where it was. And it could be a mechanism for learning, like, hey, maybe we should have done it this way. But then you can also say, hey, we made the decision we made and it brought us here, but it's okay because we were able to solve this decision later on. So I think that is where the project is really going to shine.
I might sound crazy, but in some way, I want something bad to happen and that we have to remake something, and then we will be able to talk about that.
Oh, it'll happen.
I'm not gonna make it on purpose, I swear.
If you really want to make this like realistic, just put in some scope creep. Just come up with some crazy feature like
no, that's the bad one. That's the one that we don't fix. That's the one that keeps you.
Yeah, it takes you out every
no,
time.
No. I'm talking more about. I don't know. I'm thinking of.
I think there's.
In general, I'm not thinking of mistakes. I'm thinking of, again, things that change, right? Like maybe we structure a whole system in the game, like the loading, for example. We did a very rudimental scene loading. We have some code in there, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to stay like that. So it's going to be interesting to see at the end of the project how we changed it, to account for what we needed.
It's going to be.
But I would love to be able to say you know what, we were wrong. I was wrong at the beginning, and maybe user X, somebody from the community, came in and saved the day, and proposed like a new idea, and it was better than what I had in my mind, and we rolled with it. I think that would be fantastic.
Cool. I take an idealistic approach. Typically, like these days, as I get older and I've worked on projects professionally that are now, one product I work on is 10 years old, which obviously is like massively old in the technology space. And now I look back at the decisions I made, and I think 5 years ago on that same project, I would. And by the way, I've been working on the project for 10 years, so like I've seen it go all the way to where it is today. And 5 years ago, I would have looked at many of the decisions I had made and said, that was a mistake, that was a mistake, that was a mistake. But I think I have a more tempered look on things, and I would say those weren't mistakes per se. Those decisions I made solved a problem that they needed to solve. At
the time.
Yeah, so just because they're affecting me now, I like to be more idealistic or positive and say, hey, they weren't mistakes. They got me to where I am today. And I think that, for me, has been really healthy. A healthy paradigm shift.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think that's actually one of the biggest challenge that our tutorial and learning material creators face internally, because when we make things that we want to look like real games, this is a Pandora's box that I'm about to open. But anyway, when we do that, there's a fundamental how can I say, not controversy, but there's a problem that you cannot solve, which is if you make a tutorial, you don't make a real game. And if you make a real game, you're going to make compromises, you're going to make hacks. Like that's what people make in real games, right? To get to the finish line. Anyone here who has shipped anything or even finished a game jam, they know that like they put the most terrible stuff in the project. And for us, it's very challenging when we want to release something which is realistic, that is like a real project. We want to call it a real project. It's very hard to do that. It's very hard to release something that doesn't contain hacks.
Yeah.
And then people, usually they look at this project and they go like, oh, I wouldn't do this way. And it's like, yeah, of course. Like, because this was necessary in this particular situation, right? So it's really, really hard. With this project, we will strike some kind of balance, hopefully. It will lean a bit more on the hacks side, especially towards the end, right? But I think the key point is to be able to comment on that. So not just release the project full of hacks, but go over them and say like, why did I do this? Why did I do that? Why did we come up with this solution? There was another choice, but we didn't take it, right? The I don't know, the how do you say? The programming pattern would dictate we do this other thing, but we couldn't. So that was the ideal solution, and we chose this one. And I think that would be super cool if we can touch on a few aspects of the game in this way. Yeah.
Well, it's definitely very exciting, and one way or another, we're going to learn something from this. I think it's unavoidable.
Yeah. me, including me. So one thing that we're going to do, which is key to this initiative, is we're going to live stream. We're going to have roughly one every 2 weeks. We're going to do a live stream, very much like this one. And and we're going to basically go over the progress, we're going to go over the roadmap, and we're going to go over the solutions that we have created. And as I said, hopefully towards the end, also over the mistakes that we have made and how we solved them. We're going to go over the contributions from the community. If there's somebody making something super cool, I would love to highlight it, and I would love to potentially even have them on stream. If somebody makes something very big that we want to kind of like dissect, if you make something very, I'm not saying, then I would love to invite that person and discuss. Sorry?
Put them on the hot seat. Say, why'd you do this?
Yeah, basically, why did you do that? Why did you do it this way? Why didn't you do it this other way that, maybe this tutorial was suggesting? So I think, so these live streams again, every couple of weeks. You're going to see them. They're going to be on the YouTube channel for sure. So if you subscribe to Unity, you're going to see the notification popping up. And the first one is going to be on the 13th of October. So I think 3 weeks from now.
Hopefully that's not a Friday. Or else
no, it's a Tuesday.
Oh, okay, good.
I think.
You might have more.
Why?
Because Friday the 13th is like typically like an unlucky day. You'll have more issues than your audio.
Yeah. I'm taking a look at the chat. The chat is super active, but I haven't had time to read.
I see some questions regarding, I guess, the process about like pull requests. So I think it might be a good segue to just show, how to. And I know, Ciro, you're going to probably mention this, but this right here, he's just going to give a very quick, brief overview of the whole thing. There's going to be dedicated videos on the Unity channel that are going to actually walk through. From my understanding, is that correct, Ciro? You guys are going to have dedicated videos explaining the process?
We're going to have a few things. So as I said, we're going to have the live streams. I think you're referring, yes, I want to make some tutorials on how to, it's something that you can find somewhere else, to how to create a pull request, but we will make some tutorials specific to this project, right? So I will make very soon a short video on how to contribute. Anyway, it's all written down already. I'll show you in a second.
Cool.
And then, so we're going to have, as I was saying, the live streams, and then we're going to have some more organized, pre-recorded videos that take one of the aspects of the project and they dissect it, in a more, like in a faster and more compact way, I would say. So these videos are going to be like, 10 minutes maybe. But they're going to come later, because obviously as we make them, we want the solutions that we created to be, sort of final. So these devlogs, we will call them, they will come later, also on the YouTube channel. So I think it's going to be very cool, very exciting, especially for the ones that are going to follow it from the beginning.
I'm excited.
In the beginning, there's not going to be much, to be fair. Like the first live stream, I have in mind something that we want to talk about, but the game will not be there, right? The game will be almost an empty box with something moving. And then as we go on towards the end, we're going to see like a fully fleshed little game. It's not a full game. I shouldn't call it a game. It's more like I tend to refer to it as a demo. So the way I think people should think about this is, if you have a small team, like 3 to 5 people, let's say, and you're looking to do a Kickstarter, then you make a small demo to create that Kickstarter. And then through the Kickstarter, you get the money to make the full game. And that's more or less the product that we are trying to make. So we're not trying to make a full commercial game, but we're trying to make something that is kind of like a game demo of that size. I think it's a reasonable goal.
I like that. I like that sort of meta commentary on just game development in general. Obviously, the project is going to teach a lot of game developers the realities of working on a project, especially working on a project and something of a team. But one thing I think Thomas Brush mentioned in the stream we did, that it's important to just try to make a 15-minute playable demo. That should be, if your goal is you have a dream game that you want to make. And your goal is to do that and to monetize it and to have that be your thing, then one of the most effective things you could do is make a 15-minute demo that you can just send out. Because I think a lot of indie game developers have it in their head. Maybe they see the stories of Fez or the stories of Stardew Valley, where the developers are solo. They worked on their game for 2 years, and then it was a massive success. But more realistically, you're going to have a couple game ideas, and you're going to have to make, like he says, like make short little playable demos and just send those out. And, maybe you'll get a publisher, maybe you'll have success on Kickstarter. That is probably a more realistic view of the world. So I kind of appreciate that meta commentary that this project provides.
Yeah. And, this is going to be a bit of a tweak on that situation, because sometimes, and people are writing in the chat, actually, Oren wrote MVP, right? Minimum viable product.
Right.
Somebody else wrote vertical slice, which is a word I've used as well, although not everybody knows it. So I use game demo because it's more understandable. There's so many points of view, right? I read a criticism on the vertical slice because vertical slice, what it means is that you're taking the whole game and then you're slicing it vertically. You take a slice of it, a piece of it, and that piece does everything that the game has to do. So if you imagine, for example, an MMO, a vertical slice of an MMO should have guilds and chats and missions and a boss fight, which is impossible. You will never build that, because then you have built the whole MMO, right? For our game, it's going to be a bit simpler because it's not an MMO. Thank God. But yeah, the terminology, I think it leaves. I don't know how to say it in English, but it's not diagonal slice.
That's good.
That's a good one.
Is there such a thing as I guess a horizontal slice would be the entire game.
Yeah, the horizontal slice will be more like the entire game, but just one
mechanic
type of functionality, right? Like one mechanic. Yeah.
All you can do is one basic attack, but you can get to the whole the whole game.
But through the whole game. Yeah. Now here we want to do like almost a photograph, right, of the a game demo. I think a game demo is a good. It paints a good idea of the thing that we want to do.
Yeah, I agree. Because a demo doesn't presuppose that, like a vertical slice does, that it's going to include every single mechanic that'll be in the game. It's just like, hey, this is a demo of what'll be. This is a big part of what the game's going to look like.
Yeah, and I want to try and keep the scope as small as possible, and then if we go bigger, fine. Like I really hope that some people will actually go crazy with this project and develop something that we haven't imagined extending. Especially, I would love if somebody extends the graphics or the music, because we keep talking about code, and obviously the project is going to live on GitHub. Your channel is called Infallible Code, but I would love if somebody comes up and goes like, you know what, I'll make a new character, I'll animate it. That would be super, super cool.
I'll probably go in and refactor something that doesn't need to be refactored into a giant system that no one needed.
Okay, so more details, and now we're gonna unveil a few things. So this very uninspiring slide was just for me to talk about the project on some graphics, but the cool part is here, and this is where the project will live. And big disclaimer, so the repo is actually live now. You can totally copy the URL and jump there, but don't do it. I mean, there's nothing to see yet. It's better to stay with us on the stream. You'll have time to watch it later. So this is the home of the project, I would say, is the place where the project will live and grow, and where you can grab the files and where you can put the issues in if you want. So for instance, we have one, which actually, because we run like a very small preview, and one of our friends, which is Nathan, why don't I see his name? Yeah, there we go. Nathan Farrer, Dapper Dino, right, Charles? You know him?
Oh, yeah.
There we go. He's in the chat. He fixed a small bug already. So he went through the process, basically. But as I was saying, this is the home of the project. This is where you'll find it. This is where you'll find, all the branches. The only thing to remember is you don't have writing access to this repository. So the way we're going to do this is that you will need to fork the project. So with this button here at the top. You fork it. It creates a copy of the repository that is only yours, and it lives on your account. And then once you made your changes, you push them back to our repository here, to the main one, through a mechanism that is called pull request. Charles, you want to explain what a pull request is? Since
Sure.
you're the code resident expert.
So at a high level, a pull request is when you pull a project, you clone a project that you don't have write access to, you make your changes, and you're essentially saying, hey, I'm proposing that these changes are good. And if the project owner agrees with my assessment, then he can go ahead and say, okay, I'll accept your changes and add them to the main code base. That's at a high level what a pull request is.
Yeah. So if you fork this project, you will be able to create a pull request. So you're requesting us to pull. And the pull request will show up in here. And you can see actually one closed, which is the one coming from Nathan. He created a pull request for this bug fix. So you see that when I click on this pull request, it shows me here that this is coming from Dapper Dino master. So this is coming from his repo, and is trying to go to Unity Technologies master. So this is being merged into our repo. And so he created this pull request. I commented a couple of times, and then I approved it because I checked that the bug was fixing. Sorry, the fix was the code was fixing the bug, and then I pulled the code and I merged with our master. So now the bug fix has been applied to the repo, and then the issue has been closed as well. And that's it. That's the mechanism. So what I want though, I can't wait to change the indentation style.
Yeah, that was a good question that came in. Like, is there going to be some sort of styling guide on this? Who's going to decide?
We will come up with one. Yeah, it's
obviously tabs over spaces, because I mean, there's no question.
I agree. I agree on that. And the curly braces go on the new line.
All right, we're not monsters.
Okay.
Who got that reference? Put it in the chat.
Sorry, what?
I said, who got that reference? Put it in the chat.
So yeah, that's the base mechanism. What I wanted to say is that together with the repo, we also have another piece of the puzzle, let's say, which is a subforum, of course. We will have basically a location where we can discuss everything about the project. Oh, sorry, I forgot to say one thing. The repo is obviously about the first project, right? So before I mentioned the initiative as a whole, but now I'm talking about the first project. So the first project, as you can probably see from the text here, is codenamed Action Adventure. I don't think I wrote it here. And it's basically a small 3D adventure game with a cartoony style, graphic style. That has a character, it has a story that I'm going to talk about later. And for now, we call it Unity Open Project number 1 because I want also the title to be like a common decision. So very soon, I think we will come up with a title, and then this project is going to have a more fitting name.
Could be like Matt Shell. His game is called, what is it, a cute space game? Have you seen it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can call yours a cute RPG game.
Because obviously you don't want to commit to a title too fast, right? Right. It feels like a final decision.
You got to give it a cool code name.
I think we will have it. Sorry?
You got to give it like a really cool code name, like code name Epsilon or something. I don't know.
No, that's the thing. I didn't want to create too much kind of like personality in the code name. So the code name is very generic. And that's you see it here, Action Adventure.
Nice.
But again, I want to come up with a title as soon as possible because otherwise that's going to create confusion. So hopefully in time for the first live stream, maybe. We'll see. What else? So this is the repo, right? As I said, there's some contribution guidelines. They're linked there. It's a big doc that explains like all the things. It's kind of like a big guide, and also like it contains the guidelines on what to do and what not to do. And I will expand it a little bit, especially once I get like a few frequently asked questions on the forums. And then, so this is the contribution guidelines.
Yeah, definitely recommend reading all of this before you contribute. I know it may seem like a lot, but it's really valuable that you go through this.
Yeah, especially the couple like the first paragraphs. Then the rest is kind of like a guide. So if you know how to use Git, you don't need to read the rest. I mean, go through it like quite fast, but this is mostly like a step-by-step guide on how to do this pull request, how to go through this mechanism, because not everybody's familiar with Git. Somebody was asking about the license actually in the chat. So the license is an Apache. How do you say it?
Apache, yeah.
Apache 2.0 license. So it is a proper, open source project in all ways, which is, is a challenge. Like this means that we cannot use any asset store asset, for instance, because we can't redistribute them, right? So we need to make everything ourselves.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, that's really what's cool about this being open source is that you'll get people who have expertise in different areas who can contribute. There's no need for the asset store. Obviously, people would love to have assets from the asset store. It makes everything easier. But you presumably could have someone who's like really great at maybe making 2D tile maps, or someone who's really great at designing audio systems, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I'm really, really curious to see how, again, people of different skill sets, like not just programmers, will take this project. I know that sometimes when it's not programmers, they're a bit resistant to like Git, but it was really, really the best choice to go here, because GitHub especially has all these tools for community building. Yeah. The whole pull request mechanism is very solid. The issues that we also use and so forth.
Also, the actions, I've seen where there's some really nice CLI actions where you can actually build and run tests automatically with every push or commit.
Tests would be a very cool thing to do. I would love to do some tests. I'm not sure if personally I will have the time to build them, but it would be also a very, very interesting topic to touch, right?
I'll come in there. I'll try to write some
that would be amazing. I mean, again, any contribution is really welcome, and then we can cover them in the live streams.
That'd be cool.
And again, this is the stuff that you wouldn't be able to do in a normal tutorial, right? You don't do tutorials on a tutorial on testing on an empty scene or something. So it's great to have this ensemble of different parts, and testing is one of them.
Yeah.
For sure. Another piece of the puzzle is this thing here. It's called Codex. The tool is called Codex, and it's basically a project management tool that I decided to use as the public roadmap for this project. So, and again, if you want to go explore, this is the URL. You can see it here. Should I put it in the chat?
Yeah, why not?
I get everyone distracted, but sure. So
let's see if it lets you. If not, I'll drop it in there.
I already pasted it.
All right, cool.
And now everybody's silent because everybody's visiting that.
Yeah, for real.
That's fun. So this tool, as I was saying, is mainly a project management tool. So the way you use this thing, you can create the URL. I couldn't. It's not a clickable one for me.
I dropped it in there.
Yeah. So the main use for this thing is to follow the tasks, right? So there's these green decks, especially when you click on them, you will see that inside they contain cards, and each card is a task, basically. So for example, I don't know, this one is quite empty. Animation integration, like once we have the animation clips, we want to integrate them with the state machine, and that's one task. And there's actually a few interesting ones in 3D. For instance, here I'm working on the toon shader. And so here you have like the description of the task. You have a bunch of information like the effort that it takes to make it, the person that is currently working on it, the priority, And then you have the status. So the fact that it's blue means that somebody is working on it. If you go to another deck here, the ones in green means that these tasks are completed. And so the way we will work on this is that the tasks will basically be created inside these decks, the green ones. And then as we finish them, they will slowly flow into these decks here at the bottom, which are like the kind of like the releases. So we're going to establish some milestones, and then the tasks will slowly flow into those milestones as we complete them. Somebody was asking if documentation design will also be community driven.
Good question.
Yes and no. I mean, yes, I would love to. You know, the reality is that we can't just have, you know, thousands of people decide on, for example, on every single decision in the design. So what I would love to do here is, is in the forums, you know, kick off the discussion. And if somebody has something to say, you know, please say it, like, you know, make contributions to like the story of the game, to the design of the game. We will make some kind of, we will have to take decisions, of course, me and my team, right? We will have to accept some things and reject some other things. We can't accept all of them. And also one of the key things that I need to do here is to keep the scope small. So if something is, you know, makes the scope way bigger, then we will reject it. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to code quality, same goes for the PRs, right? Like, we will reject some PRs because somebody might contribute something that is completely not, I don't know, maybe it's not related to what we want to do, or it does it in a way that doesn't really work with the rest of the project, and then we will have to reject it. Of course, we will provide like feedback, and if they fix it, we will approve it afterwards. So there's going to be kind of like some quality control and community moderation, I would say, that we will have to do.
Yeah, and I think it's important because that kind of goes back to this whole, like, all the sort of meta things you're going to learn as you contribute and follow this project. You know, when you're working on a team, someone needs to be the leader, and you know, it's nice when everyone gets a say, but at the end of the day, you need someone to say, listen, it's just not going to work for this project.
Yeah,
so it's good.
And you know, time constraints. There's so many reasons why some things, even though they're cool, they can be done. And you know, how do you say, feature creep, right?
Yeah,
the
scope creep, feature creep, all that stuff comes up.
But scope is like, scope sounds to me as in like the size, right? But then you can also have, like, for example, it's easy to just say, like, let's have another move that the character can make. Let's have another type of attack, right? It's easy, and maybe you can make the animation, that's fine. But then the thing is, like, why would you do that? Are you making the game more fighting based, you know? And if not, then maybe it doesn't need two types of attack, you know? That's kind of like that's a bit more game design, right? But I think it's going to be also an interesting conversation that we can bring to the live streams.
Yeah, I think that's interesting.
The forums, unfortunately, sorry, they're not. This is not live yet. I need somebody from the community team to enable this forum, so you can't comment on it straight away. I think tomorrow we will be able to make them public. You'll see them appear. You see community learning and teaching. So if you go from like the main page of the forums, teaching and certification, community learning and teaching, and then you'll see it here. Nice. And if you go now, you won't see it because it's all internal. But tomorrow we'll make it public. So please bring any discussion to the forums, you know, and let's discuss it all together. Let's brainstorm things. Like, for example, here I have the game title. You know, you can write a title that you think is cool, and then people will be able to like them, and then we'll make like a final poll and decide on one.
Very cool. I'm excited to follow that forum.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Another part of the roadmap, so this is kind of like, as I said, like the green decks, they're full of tasks. There's this one, special one, which is about bugs, currently empty.
Hey, nice.
Cool.
See how long that lasts.
Thanks to Nathan as well. And that's actually, bugs is going to be an interesting one, because in bugs you will find things that I think personally they're kind of like kind of like actionable in a very quick way, right? Like you don't need to think too much about it. Everything is there. You just need to find the bug and fix it.
Yeah.
So versus, a new feature, which is like, how do I even code this?
Yeah.
It's bugs are probably going to be like smaller tasks. So if you're looking for some engagement, which is like faster and smaller, I think bugs are one good way.
Yeah.
Empty bug section is always nice. It is.
It's a little disconcerting, right? You're like, wait a second, no bugs? It can't be.
Yeah, no bugs, no project. It's just because the project hasn't started yet. Then we have up for discussion, which is like cards that, in some way bring you to a discussion. So for example, there's one about the game title. You click on here and you get sent to the forum where you can discuss that thing. So it's all connected. It's all like interconnected. You can jump from one piece to the other quite easily. And then there's this part here, the game design wiki. And the game design wiki is it's kind of like a living document of the game, of the story of the game. And you'll see that each one of these is a card as well, even though these are not tasks. So they don't have any effort. I just use the priority to order them in 3 rows, but they're not really tasks. So for instance, if I check the story, I can open it here, and through this button here, you can actually make it wider, and then you can read through the story. And sometimes these things are linked. So for instance, here it says the protagonist is the big chef, and I can click here and I jump onto this card, and there's very little description for now, but I will enhance it a little bit.
Very cool.
I like so you can tool. See
this is a pretty cool tool.
It's a super cool tool. Yeah. I'm just like scratching the surface with it. It's so nice. It's made by a team in Berlin called Machine and Mensch, I think, and it's called Codex. And as you can see, let me see one thing. So this is my view. And this is kind of like the private view. And then you have the public one, which everybody can see. So as part of the team, what I have here is I can, for example, have code, right? Animation integration. And maybe I want to work on this task, or I want to keep an eye on it. I can take this card and I can put it in my hand. And so now this hand is kind of like you holding the cards, right? And seeing them at all times. So this is kind of like your workspace.
So when you put it into your hand, does that remove it from, can other people put it in their hand at the same time?
Yeah. Okay. No, it doesn't remove it.
That's just your way of like starring it, so to speak.
Yeah. And then you can also have like a card that's only in your hand, and that means that nobody else can see it. So if you have a task that nobody needs to know about, you can just put it directly in the hand. But if it's in the decks, then it kind of gets categorized. You see it has a priority. Then you can filter it in so many ways. It has a very powerful filtering system and a search system that also, searches like, how to say, semantically. I don't know if you can say that. And then the cool thing is, again, there's so many features. Like, let's say this one, it's a card with a discussion. So in here, there's a small discussion that I can close. The card is currently, Amel is working on it. You can see who's assigned to it. And then another cool part of this tool, which unfortunately you won't see because they decided not to make it public, is the milestones. So the milestones is a way to define milestones. And you can have them here on the calendar. And for instance, I had like this public launch, right, which is in 2 days. And in the public launch, if I go back to the milestone view, you can see which cards are part of it. And if you hover here, you can see how many cards have been finished and how many effort points are making the... But anyway, this is a bit more like project management heavy.
Yeah. Which is still valuable, for people to...
It's very valuable. And probably we will use it, we will show it during the live streams. Mm-hmm. So the public part is always available and people can always consult it. But maybe we will show also like the milestones, and the tool is very complete. It has like what is it? It has metrics. So you can see how many cards you're like, tasks you're completing and where you are in terms of like your target. And again, here it's very empty, so it's not really an interesting situation. But if you go this way, yeah, you can see that like Nathan completed one card. Amel is working on one card, and I completed 7, and I'm working on 2, and I have 1 that is assigned to me that I haven't started yet, right? And so you can see like the card burn out, and you can adjust like the target velocity that you think you're gonna hit, and then that can tell you when you finish your project, basically.
Nice.
But this is a bit, for us it's a bit wonky because some cards will be done by the community, so I never know when they're gonna finish them. So it's these metrics are not gonna be super useful for our project, but this view is gonna be.
Yeah, this looks great.
Anyway, super cool tool.
I like how visual it is, and like how you can put the like that public unveil where you have the graphic of the main character. Like this is really cool. I'm interested in exploring it.
Yeah, in the game design wiki, I put like a cover for every card, and then you can go in and you can have the text, and then you have here the attached. It's a very complex and complete tool. You have the conversations per card, and then the conversation, they pop up here to the side, so they always remind you if there's something that you have to act on. For instance, I know that this card is blocked, and I can quickly go to it and check why it's blocked. And if there's no solution, then I move on. Otherwise, I unblock it. It's always like trying to drive your attention to the important parts.
Yeah. Cool.
But anyway, the main point here is this one, right? So I'm not going to go to the private one anymore. This is the public one. You can always check it in here to see what we need to do. And it's kind of, even though there's plenty of cards, it's kind of empty still. So I'm still working on populating it with proper tasks. The point is, if you want to contribute to the project, you will go to here and you will be, for example, if you're a coder, you open the code one and you go like, okay, this one, nobody's working on it. Sounds like something I could do, and then and this is the important part. Once you want to work on this thing, you need to go to the forum and open a thread and communicate with us, because otherwise we won't know that you're working on that thing, and so many people could be working on the same card. And that's something that's very, very important.
So
it's not something.
The workflow,
Sorry?
and I know you're going to go over this eventually, especially like on the main Unity channel. But the workflow would be, I go to Codex here, I go to this, and I take a look around, say, okay, I'm a coder, maybe I'm good at 3D and shading, etc. I click in there, I see a card that I think I could take. I pop into the forum, say, hey, look, I'm thinking about working on this card. And at that point, a discussion is started, so everyone knows that you're working on it. Could have multiple people working on it, I'm sure, if it gets big enough, but at least you put it out there that you're working on it. And at that point, you would do the fork, you would do your work, and then you would do a pull request.
Yeah, so at that point, sorry, I'm following you. So if you get confirmed in some way, you can do the fork. So you would go to the repo, you will click here at the top on fork. And actually, if I click, I think it does it. I can fork it on my account, right? I'm not going to do it now, but let's say that I do it. There's 2 forks already. One is... Actually, there's not Nathan's fork. Interesting. Maybe
because it already got pulled in. And...
I don't know. So, for example, this person has created their fork, and then I would work on the code, right? I would work on the project, and then I would go back to the main repo, which is here. And obviously, at the same time, you would like discuss on the forums, and if you're assigned to the task, I will go in here and I will set this task to in progress, right? So I would, I will go to the private side, and I will do something like this, and I will set it to in progress. So I will remove myself, and then whoops. Anyway, I'll do it later. Yeah. And then the card will show up as in progress, and then you would work on it, discuss on it, about it on the forums. And then once you're ready, you go back to the main repo and you go to the pull requests and you create a new pull request. And you say, I want to send my fork to this branch. And that's it. You send it, and then you wait for an answer from us.
It's awesome. Very cool.
It's a bit of a process, but once you do it the first time, then it becomes it becomes easy.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking, what is the link of the project in the forum? So as I was saying, the forum is not live yet, only for like Unity stuff, but tomorrow we're going to put it live. And again, you're going to find it under community learning and teaching.
I'll drop some links in, at least for Codex. And
yeah, Codex is live. You're going to find it here. And the repo, of course, which I see is receiving a few stars and watches.
Nice.
Oof, I think I've explained most of it.
Yeah, I'd say you went pretty much through it and the process. Now, anyone watching here, just know if you're watching this and the stream has already passed, so this is like next week or whatever, you could probably go on over to the Unity channel or the Unity blog, and there's going to be a post about this, and there's going to be more information that is tailored to each step, I believe, of the flow that'll have more in-depth walkthrough of what to do. But for those who are familiar with Git, it's a very simple, pulling and forking and all that. You're probably already familiar with that part of it.
Yeah, the information in any case, it's here in the contribution guidelines, which you find linked inside the repo, inside the forum, inside the codex. So, Codex, for example, has I should really close the private one. Yeah, let's close it. Codex has a first deck, which is called README. And inside here, you have contributing. And from here, you can get to the contribution guidelines, which is this document that I have open here. So you can I'm pretty sure if you look, you can find the information.
Well, this is great. I'm super excited for this for a number of reasons. I think it's going to be very interesting from an outsider looking in, just seeing a project kind of grow and to see, again, like we talked about, the decisions that are made along the way. We're going to be able to step through the commits to see, those decisions and almost in real time, see how they affect the entire project. Cheetah's going to have the live streams regularly, so those are going to serve as a great opportunity to see and discuss what those decisions were. But then I think we also mentioned a lot of the meta stuff that you're learning from this. We're learning how to work as a team and learning about doing pull requests. And
that's a very good point.
It's going to be awesome.
Learning to, to appreciate other people's work and kind of like comment on that in a respectful way and discuss design decisions, code decisions. It's all like, I'm really excited because it's all stuff that I don't think we ever really covered, and I don't know of, I mean, there's platforms that do this, right? But they usually do it in a very small controlled environment, like small groups, coding academies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is kind of like wide range, which it's going to be challenging. It's scary, to be honest.
and this, I saw it was number 1, so hopefully this is the first of many of these open projects. So I think as each one progresses, we'll learn.
Good point. Thanks. So as I was saying, I mean, this is called Unity Open Projects, right? So it's plural. And the idea is that we start with this first one, which I codenamed for now Action Adventure. But the idea is to go on. So ideally towards March, more or less, we will be done with this one, either straight away or maybe a bit before. It depends on how this goes. We might have a second one that will be super cool, which I think it will be probably a mobile game. And then we'll really move on, and we'll slowly cover different types, different platforms, different use cases. And that's why reconnecting myself to what I said maybe an hour and a half ago, this is the only way to do advanced tutorials, right? To take a look at, like, now it's an action game, now it's a mobile game, I don't know, card-based, for example. And that way you can actually go more advanced, go deeper in the solutions that you create, because you actually have a use case to cover. And again, it's not going to be applicable to everything, but it's going to give you that knowledge that you can then use to create your own solution.
I think one thing that you mentioned was the context, and that's just something I've been trying to do, on my channel. Like you said, it's difficult to create advanced tutorials because, you'll create an advanced tutorial. Let's say it's about, coding practices or whatever. So you create an example project, but you're in this vacuum. So people will come into the comments and say, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And it's really hard to bake in the decisions that got us to that point, Because most of the advanced things that happen deep into a project, or at least a couple weeks in when you've already made a handful of decisions. So, I mean, like my solution to that is with my videos, I'll have Charles and Barles, and they have a dialogue that provides context.
That's actually, when I saw that, I was like, that's interesting, and it's similar to what we want to achieve. Yeah,
right, exactly.
That was super cool.
It brings that context, and I think that's what we're going to get out of this. Like with your live streams, now you can dive into advanced topics because you have the context, and you can bring it up and show it, by going back to commits and things like that. And so it's really cool. I think this is awesome. I think this something that I've dubbed as level 2. I guess tutorials or whatever you want to call it. The community has, I think I dropped a hashtag earlier in the chat. If it's level 2 stuff, that it's really challenging to articulate it and to get it across. But things like this is what's going to fill that sort of void of level 2 content that a lot of game developers that I've seen as a community are sort of growing together. Like I've seen my community, in my Discord channel, grow from beginners to now getting into this more intermediate and advanced part of their careers, or however you want to call it. And this is like awesome. I'm really excited for this, Ciro. So thank you for putting this together.
If you think about it, many YouTubers as well, right? They're migrating onto this kind of more long kind of like projects that span multiple videos. I'm thinking, for example, of Sebastian Lake, right?
Mm-hmm. His coding
He's
adventures.
done a few series. Sorry?
Like his coding adventures and his series. Like
mentioned. Exactly. He's done a few of them because at some point you wanna kind of like cover the next level of stuff, and the only way to do it is to do it, right? Is to jump into a project and to keep going for a while, which is a challenge in itself. I think one interesting aspect of this project, there's so many of them, but like one interesting aspect is to provide a platform for the people that maybe, are struggling with starting, or struggling with motivation. They don't know where to start, or I'm thinking of, for example, many programmers that maybe work in programming, but not in games. And they really want to make a game, but they can't make like a full game on their own.
Right.
So this project will be super cool to just jump in, do a few things. And if you don't have any more time, jump out, and the project will keep going, and then maybe you can join later. But your name is in the credits at that point, right? Because you contributed something. So
find a bug fix.
It's good.
Yeah, and you'll be in the credits. That'll be cool.
Yeah, it's I have a lot of expectations for it. It's gonna be very, very challenging, as I said. There's so many pitfalls and challenges that we could encounter, but we're gonna do our best to make it work.
Definitely. Well, I think it'll work. I think the community is going to be a big part of that, making that work. And obviously with your leadership, it sounds like, obviously you've poured a lot of time and effort into this, and it looks like it's going to be really cool.
Yeah. It's funny because I actually did put a lot of time and effort, and you see the project, you should see the repo now. There's not much in it. So it's like, what did this guy do until now? We have a couple of things actually. Did I open the project? Yeah. So
hey, nice. Well, let me switch on over.
If you open the project now, you're gonna see something in there. There's actually
that's cute.
A very rough version of the protagonist, which was done like in half a day by one of the graphic artists, and he's gonna redo it from scratch. This was literally a test that he made as a favor to me, to test like the art style. We wanted to try and see if we could, achieve the same. These shadows are going crazy here.
I like it. The toon shading.
Yeah, but this is kind of like a work in progress as I was working. Let's remove the shadows for now. Nope, that didn't work. Anyway, I'm working on it. And so in this situation, for instance, I was making the toon shading, and then I kind of like stepped back 1 second, and I restarted from full screen. I restarted from the shader itself. So before making it toon, I wanted to make a shader that handles like a bunch of cases. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to dive in it right now because we're going to do it during the live stream once I'm done. But this one handles direct lighting, additional lights like point lights and their shadows, right? And then it handles baked lighting. So I wanted a toon shader that you could also bake and then the baked one would receive the shadows of real-time objects. So I wanted to create mixed lighting. I'm going very fast on it, but that's the idea. Why am I showing this?
It's cool.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. This, the very few things that I've done in terms of development. And then I was working on a character controller, which I think is in scenes.
Is this what Nathan fixed the bug in?
Yeah. So very, very simple testing scene. And there was a bug. So this game is supposed to be played with the keyboard or a gamepad. And before, when I pressed like left or right, the character would, and I think this is actually the version with the bug. So he keeps going straight rather than adjusting to the camera. It should be like always going left or right. So if I press, for example, if I press right now, he will keep going, as you can see, in a straight line that cuts through the checkerboard, but he should really be going right if I just hold right. And that's the bug that Nathan fixed, but I am on a different branch now, I think.
Nice.
Anyway, the road is very long.
We'll get through it.
And that's going to be something that I think it's also a lesson in itself. It's like the first stages of a project are never that, there's a bit of fun at the beginning as you prototype something, and then there's a very boring central part.
Yeah.
And then there's a fun at the end as you get to the finish line or close to it.
You said it was fun, that crunch period? It's fun because
what I mean is
you're so lacking.
Sure.
No,
what I mean is when you actually arrive, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But there's also some satisfaction in seeing things come together. Like think, for example, when you receive the music and you integrate it, and suddenly you have like,
oh yeah,
after months and months and months of a game that is mute, usually music, is a bit like done, especially in indie productions, is done a bit later on.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be. It's a bad practice, but it happens, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's nice to see it all finally start to come together, and yeah, it's definitely makes it all those late nights worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, Ciro, thank you for walking through all of this. Also, thank you for putting this together. I think this is going to be a really like an incredibly valuable thing for the community that I feel like I've been kind of thirsting for. So I think the community, feels the same way. So I think that, I think this is going to be great. And
I think it's going to be fun indeed. Thanks for giving me the space to bring the news first.
No problem, anytime.
And I wanted to take a look at some questions. Did you see any question in the chat that was?
I haven't been following it too long. I saw we got some people joining us, Mix and Jam, Andre, hey, Broman, I see you in there. Some other folks that joined in that I didn't see earlier. So thank you guys, and thank you to the community as well for joining this stream. And tough nut to crack. Hey man, good to see you there. Thanks for joining in. Really excited about this. Ciro, you said you guys were going to do like a live stream soon. Do you have a particular schedule for that, or is that something that they should just keep an eye out? Where could they? What's the best place to follow the life of this project if they wanted to do that?
So, the live streams, as I said, the first one will be on the 13th of October, and the time is like 9 p.m. here in Copenhagen, which means like 10 a.m. in Pacific time. So more or less like from the US to the center of Asia, I guess, would be possible to watch it live. And if you just subscribe to the Unity channel, you'll see it, the live streams. But the best way to follow the project, the live streams, obviously, we bring it to you. In the other case, you have to go to the project. So I would say the forum. I would say the forum is going to be the center of the discussion. And from the forum, you always have a link to the GitHub repository. So if you want to like star or watch the repository, and then you have a link to the roadmap. But I think the main point will be the forums where the discussion will happen, and you'll see like new discussion pop up, like what should we do with this system? We will announce the releases, and then of course, the live streams is a good way to catch up with what we're doing.
Very cool. I'm excited to contribute. I think my first contribution is going to be a big singleton. to hold all the settings, like an audio manager or something. I know how much everyone loves singletons.
I'm gonna reject that pull request myself first.
I'm gonna add that to
with dishonor.
I'm gonna add that to my LinkedIn. Like I had a pull request rejected. That's awesome.
No, but actually, I'm sorry we used so much time to talk about it, because I wanted to talk about the code a little bit for this project, which is gonna be an interesting challenge. We don't want to teach people to do
bad practices.
Bad practices. Like I talked before about hacks. Hacks are not bad practices, right? Like hacks are a specific, how can I say, specific change in a very specific part of the project.
It's
but
like
the thing
controlled.
started with good practices.
Hacks are like, they're controlled. You know where they are. They can't run rampant.
Yeah, and you had to do them, right? Like, but we at least want to start with some good practices. So, for instance, one thing that I wanted to try is to avoid singletons. Maybe we'll have some in some specific parts. Then I wanted to use scriptable objects a lot. And maybe base the whole structure to that. So rather than having a singleton, having a scriptable object, and we'll see. What would you suggest?
I love David. He says, on everything manager singleton.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I think once the code starts to flesh out, it'd be a great opportunity to like just look at it and dive through different pull requests to see what made it, what maybe didn't make it in, and why not. Yeah, I think that's going to be a great aspect of the project. I mean, gosh, there's going to be so much to learn from this, like the meta stuff I keep talking about, but then the code decisions. It's going to be awesome. I'm super excited. I'll be watching this really closely.
Salimi was asking, does it have any limitation? I mean, can anyone work on the project? Yes, anyone can. Yep, that's the answer.
Corner cutting, that's what Jason likes to call it.
Hacks are there to do the dirty work in the dark, so the best practices can thrive in the light.
Oh, wow.
That's a very poetic.
I need to embroider that on a pillow. This is beautiful.
Jason Story says, I prefer to call it corner cutting. The trick is to cut the right corners that don't cause the project to fall over. That's true. That's very true.
That's right.
Like you do hacks where they're, I think you said it before, where they're controlled, right?
Yeah.
You know that they're touching only. Yeah. You don't hack at the beginning. You don't hack the structure, the overarching structure, right? You hack at the end when you really can't do anything else, and then you hack that one specific scene maybe, or like moment in the gameplay. Will you have animation rigging? Thank you, Dio. That's a good point. The project will be in 19.4. That was my decision. I think it makes a lot of sense to stay on LTS, and because I think that's a good, and this is kind of like part of my job. I want to send the right message, and the right message for us is always to stay on LTS and to more stable releases, because if you don't need something that is in the beta, is in the latest version, then you shouldn't be on the beta. That's our general message, because the betas are betas, right? So the strategy for this project is going to be on 19.4, which means that we will be limited to the packages that are working with 19.4, which is okay, because 19.4 being an LTS means that some packages are actually receiving backports. So, for instance, the animation rigging is a good example. Some things that were introduced in 2020.1 have been backported to the version that works with 19.4.
Very cool. That's another valuable lesson right there about sticking to LTS.
That's something which we wanted to do. Like my team, sometimes we are kind of like guilty of exciting people over new features and suggesting the idea that maybe you want to migrate your project to 2020. Now we're in 2020.2 beta, right? But the reality is, if you're in production, you should be staying on an LTS, or at least not a beta. That's a good message.
Yeah.
So we want to, for this one, we're going to stay on 19.4. If we make it to, March or April, when 2020.8 kind of like 2020 LTS comes out, then we might think of migrating it directly to LTS the next year.
Yeah. That'd be an
which, by the way, Unity
challenge.
tries to make that process, like we put particular care in allowing people to migrate between LTSs, because that's what, big studios, they do that all the time. They stay on maybe 18.4 and then they want to jump directly onto 19.4. They never go to 19.1 or 2.
Right.
So there's a whole team dedicated to making sure that this jump is really frictionless. So we'll see.
That'll be cool.
Let's see if we get to the 2020.
And that'll be another interesting lesson to get finally to that point and say, okay, we're going to actually take a real project that y'all worked on and upgrade it. And see what happens. I like that.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And, if it goes well, If it goes badly, we'll make an episode about it. And we'll go over what went badly and how you can fix it.
And that's super valuable too. And it's funny because that's that'd be another topic that, heck, I'd love to cover that on my channel, but it's so hard because the things that could go wrong are all dependent on, again, those decisions that were made. How did we structure the project that would have led to something that didn't go wrong or maybe did go right? But how does one make a 10-minute tutorial on their channel to cover all of that? So it'll be good to have the actual project. So
definitely. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I really hope that this project and the next ones becomes, a resource that people will take both externally, but also internally at Unity. Why not? Like other teams can take and kind of test their packages inside these projects and really make sure that they work against all these solutions that we create.
Yeah. Cool. Well,
I see a bit of chat going on there.
Yeah. So I was responding to Jason. He says
the hacking.
Yeah, every hack and patch is not a mistake, but a lesson learned. It's true. Well, I think this is a good place to stop. I think you shared quite a bit here, and we've hyped it up, so I'm super excited about it. I'm pretty sure everyone here is gonna probably dive into that repo and see if they can fork it. So good luck to y'all.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, there's not too much for now, but there's gonna be I was really focused on other aspects of the project, like moving forward, like the blog post, the trailer, so many aspects, like the roadmap. Mm-hmm. But in the coming weeks, I'm really gonna make a lot of work on the code. So you're gonna see it grow a little bit. And then also we have, I didn't say it, all the things that you see here, the concept art, we have some artists working on that.
That's awesome.
They are gonna be producing these assets soon, and that's the ones that you saw the character, not this one, the one that we saw before. But they're gonna make them, the final version. So we're gonna have characters and assets for the project.
Cool.
There's actually another part. Sorry, Charles, I want to add this small thing. If you go to GameFlow and you go to this card here, there's a link to a Miro board. So there's this tool called Miro.
Ooh,
and basically here we have the structure of the physical locations of the game and how the flow, works and how you can move from location to another one. And again, this part here, we control it. We can't let anyone, we can't let everybody edit it, but we're going to make changes and update it as we go. So this is to communicate the vision that we have and how it should be implemented.
Neat. Very cool.
So through, by reading through this, and if you go back to the thing here, reading the game design wiki, you're going to basically understand the whole flow of the demo and then make decisions that will, be code decisions, graphic decisions, but you have the context.
Cool. Wow. That tool looks really awesome. Miro? Yeah,
this is another super cool tool, Miro. It's really, really cool. It's these endless boards and you have a bunch of elements that you can use. You have so many templates.
That's nice.
Super cool tool.
Cool. All right. Well, again, thanks for sharing this, Ciro. I really appreciate you being on the stream and chatting with us and sharing this. Really excited. For those of the people in the chat and the stream who want to follow you, can you share some information, your Twitter handle and all that, where people can follow what you're up to?
Yeah, my Twitter handle is, if you go to the
I think I have it linked
credits.
actually in the description as well. but just so
Yeah,
people
it's
can find
anyway,
you.
it's CiroContns.
Nice. All right, we'll get you
So
some
it's
followers.
Ciro Continisio. It's like this.
Very cool. So
And yeah, I mean, once the thing is public, I'm gonna tweet about this project all the time. So if you wanna follow the project, you can also follow me, and it's kind of like having like a 24/7 news feed, I guess.
Right? Yeah. Eat, breathe, and sleep this project.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, and just want to say thanks to everyone who joined in the chat as well. I know that Ciro and Unity are going to be covering this, but from time to time, I as well will probably be covering. And whenever I contribute, I'm sure I'll do a live stream to talk about that. And so maybe Ciro, I can have you back on at some point.
Yeah, it would be super cool to look back on this day,
Yeah.
and say like what fools we were.
I know, right? Bit off way too much. No, we're going to be positive about this. It's going to be great. Well, thanks again. And yeah, I guess we'll chat with you all later.
Yeah, thanks, Charles, for inviting me.
No
It was
problem.
super cool.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Bye all that joined.